Welcome to Season 2, Episode 40 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me, I got a fine league of extraordinary gentlemen here today. Yeah, you like that one? I'm bringing that back.
That's good.
Back. I got Matt Aguilar's with me.
What up?
And we brought our wrestling expert, Mr. Connor Casey, is back.
I'm back.
And we're going all quadrants today, so we had to bring one of our undercover gaming ninjas in here. Well, we'll probably get trademark sued for that. So just one of our undercover gaming players, Tanner, is with us today, and he's here with a very special appearance. Tanner doesn't like to get into this crazy hoopla that we call a show, but today we need him because his expertise is invaluable, and he gets to play some of the craziest games before any of us do. So he's here to share his first impressions of The Last of Us Part 2, or have you finished it? Or I mean, is this like a full?
Yeah, I finished it. I finished it last week. I finished it, and I've gone back and played a few chapters after that. Gone back and replayed some stuff. But yeah, it's done. It's done.
Okay, so Tanner's going to give us a full. We're going to keep it, I think, spoiler-free because everybody's just getting into the game by the time you hear this. But he's going to give us a full spoiler-free kind of breakdown about this, and then we're going to hammer him with questions that we want to ask. And he's busy because as we record this, we are getting ready to have the PS5 event drop. So next week, we're going to have a full recap with the gaming team, with you guys about that. So stay tuned for that. But up first today in our show, like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. I haven't said, but we're going to be talking about Man of Steel 2, WWE, what's going on with ComicCon this year. But up first and foremost, Tanner is going to hit us with this Last of Us Part 2 review. So, Tanner, take it away. Is this going to live up to the legacy of the first game, or are fans in for another hit in 2020?
Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about that, and I don't, the PS4s, people are going to use the PS4 for a long time, so, it's still got life in it. I don't want to say this is, going to define the generation, because that's really dramatic when people say that, but what I did say in my written review is, if there were no more PS4 releases after June 19th, then we would be just fine, because, this is such a good game on the PS4. I think it would be fine if we just ended it right there and went straight to the PS5. It's that good. I played The Last of Us. I know a lot of people did play Last of Us. And when I played Last of Us, it didn't really leave that much of an impression on me. I wasn't obsessed with it like some people were. But this game just builds. Yeah, Brandon loves Last of Us. I wasn't obsessed with it. I thought it was a really good game, and it had some good stuff. The story was good, and the gameplay was pretty impactful. It was rewarding. But man, this game just builds on all of that. It builds on every single thing that you established in the first game, and it just takes it to another level. It's really good. It's really good.
All right, let's hammer this man with some questions before we get him out of here. What would you give it? Tanner, what was what's your review kind of score? Do you guys do scores? I forget what they.
Yeah, we do them out of 5. I was thinking about it. I gave this game a 5 out of 5. I don't know that I've ever given a game a 5 out of 5. Maybe once here I've done it, I think. But yeah, it's 5 out of 5. Absolutely. It's not perfect. There are some things that I would have changed. There's some things that are wrong with it, but yeah, everything just outweighs the bad.
Is there a spoiler-free downside you can give us?
Some of the downsides of spoiler-free stuff is in the first Last of Us, you play as Joel, right? You play as Joel, and you have Ellie who's following you around, and she's your co-protagonist, and she's helping you with stuff. We've seen in the trailers and the previews for this that you have friends helping you out at points. That part can be kind of frustrating. AI in games is really tough whenever you have to have a partner, and it's frustrating to be so stealthy when you're playing as Ellie to try and sneak around everywhere, and all of a sudden your AI just runs across the screen, and I'm like, what are you doing? We're trying to be sneaky here, and the enemies won't detect them, so it is, it's like a lesser of two evils. You don't have to worry about them busting you, but then it's kind of breaks the immersion when they're running across. As far as the overall feel of the game, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but this game makes you feel very uncomfortable. It makes you feel like a really bad person when you're playing this game, because you do the things the game makes you do and the things that you have to do in order to push forward. You're like, oh no, hold on, I don't want to do that. Why are you making me do that? And there are actually several times where I put down the controller because whatever you're doing, cutscene, whatever, you put down the controller, and I was like, I'm not gonna press any more buttons. Maybe there's another option out of the situation, and then I'm like, nope, that's it. You just have to do what the game tells you to do. So I didn't want to do the things that it said, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
It's pretty ominous.
Yeah, I know.
I would be very concerned for any person who can play through this game and not feel some kind of regret or emotion, or you know what I mean? Like, if you don't feel anything for playing this game, I would be concerned for you because there's something going on there.
So, one of the things we saw kind of in the lead up to Last of Us, and I remember when it made its big E3 presentation, back when people went to a convention. It seems so long ago.
When we still had conventions.
I know, it seems so long ago. But, one of the kind of biggest knocks against it was always that, like, the trailers and footage always seemed so dark. It seemed so pushing that constantly. And there wasn't, the first game had lighthearted moments kind of sprinkled throughout. It's not a joyful game by any means, but it had those moments. But they never really showed that in the lead up to this game release. Is there enough of that? Did you feel like it maintained that balance, or did they maybe go too far in one direction?
I don't think they went. Well, let me first say it gets worse than the trailers. Okay, it gets worse than that. It gets darker. I don't think they went too far, because I think they've been very upfront about that's what the entire game is about. You know what I mean? It's about the cycle of vengeance, and it's about how far people can go to get whatever they want. So I don't think they went too far, because they've always kind of set that expectation. But like I said, there's some, I don't know, the things you do and the things that people in the game do are very surprising. The game really enjoys reminding people that, like, nothing is sacred. Like, these people are trying to survive, and everyone's at risk. Anything can happen to anybody. There'll be characters, that for the beginning of the game, you're like rooting for them. You're like, oh, I want the best for this person. And 2 chapters later, you're like, I hate this person. I don't know why I ever stuck by you. So yeah, it does get worse. It gets worse than that. But I don't know. The uncomfortable part's kind of good. A lot of games.
Is this game modeled after our podcast?
It does have like some of its lighter moments. Like there's like banter between the characters and things like that. But like I said, the game reminds you that it can all change at a moment's notice. So yeah, it is a dark game. I would not be surprised if you had to take some breaks from it. Like, walk away for a minute, be like, all right, that's enough.
Now, Kofi and Connor, because it's been a big thing that, like, the story of this game got leaked way ahead of time. Did either of you read the spoilers? Because I didn't. I managed to avoid them. Okay, so no, Connor did.
I'm still working my way through the first game. I don't really enjoy it, I hate to say. So it's a slog for me. But so I haven't actually read any spoilers about the end of the first game or anything about the second game. I know nothing.
Okay, and Connor did, right?
I did, even though I had never played the first game. At the time, I was told don't bother, so I didn't. Oh, and then when I saw all the fuss about the spoilers for the second part coming out, I was like, okay, what's got everybody so upset? And then I read it and I go, oh my God, that's going to piss people off. So, Tanner, I guess the real question for you is, without really spoiling anything, how much of what was leaked was fake?
Okay. So for the spoilers, I can't even if I wanted to, I don't want to get in trouble. I want to get in trouble. I want everyone to be able to enjoy the game as much as they can. So I'm not going to say what is real, what is fake from the spoilers, because there's some weird spoilers out there. I've seen the videos. I've read the threads on Reddit from people who say my dad works at Naughty Dog. Okay, I've read all of the spoilers. I've seen everything. So I'm not going to comment on the spoilers. But what I can tell you is that the director of the game, Neil Druckmann, he commented on it, and he said there are so many false things out there, and he said that they don't want to go and start correcting anything, because once you start saying that's not what happens, then people can infer, okay, this is what happens. So I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to avoid that. But what Neil Druckmann also said, he said that the ending to the game is not out there yet. So I don't know what people have seen in spoilers. I don't know where people have been looking, but he says the ending is not out there yet. And we asked who took in the spoilers and who hasn't. I've seen all the spoilers, like I said, and I knew, or I don't know. I've seen all the spoilers, and it did not impact my experience one bit, not one bit.
Okay.
And I would go through and watch the spoilers all over again, and fine. It'd be fun.
Bigger question: will this be better than the next Paper Mario? Because that's the game I'm focused on.
I don't know if I can go to something as lighthearted as Paper Mario for playing this game.
What a comparison.
That's what we need. The world needs Paper Mario after this game. We need anything like that.
Oh my goodness.
That's true. And then also, because again, no, you can't really talk about spoiler things, but you played the first one, and then you also did you play the DLC on the first one that kind of went into Ellie's?
No, I did not play the DLC. I just took like a crash course in it to, familiarize myself with.
Okay. because that is, for those that that also was, received pretty well by fans, but was also kind of, really important to her story. But do you get after playing the game and everything, would you recommend people go back and make sure to play that extra thing, or were you fine without it?
I mean, if you go and play this game and you haven't played The Last of Us, then you're not going to have the same emotional attachment to the characters. And you need that to get through The Last of Us. So you can play it without playing the first game, but I wouldn't recommend it. And the same is true to the DLC to a lesser extent. I didn't play the DLC, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite game this whole year so far. But I mean, there's some things you miss out on, but the game does a good job of filling in the blanks. Things that tell you what you've missed. But I mean, we got a week until it releases, so people got time. The Last of Us remastered is like $10 or $20, something like that. We got time to do it. So I would recommend going through it again.
Awesome.
All right, is that good? Anybody else have any questions for Tanner? Tanner, do you think there'll be any kind of controversies or anything that this game inspires?
Yes.
He didn't even.
Wow, no hesitation. Wow.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. I will say, I know a lot of people, obviously you play as Joel in the first game, and the focus here is on Ellie. I like playing as Ellie a lot more than I ever liked playing as Joel. The decisions they made with the game and the things they allow you to do, like being able to go prone in the grass and climb on top of things, that, just the stuff you could do that you couldn't do as Joel. They just learned so much from the first Last of Us, and they built on all of that and turned it into this. So, but it's gonna be controversial. There's gonna be people gonna be big mad about it. But
I can smell the articles now.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Tanner has his article. He's like, I know what I'm covering.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the stuff you're gonna be mad about in the game is stuff that, at least you had a reaction to it. Like, you're gonna be, people will love it, people will be mad, but whatever. Like, at least you I don't know. They could have just played it safe, but they did not play it safe at all. But yeah, it pays off. It's a good game. It's good. You should play it.
This is good stuff. Now, okay, tough question for Tanner. So, after all is said and done, because very soon Cyberpunk comes, and Cyberpunk looks amazing.
Are we looking at that distracted boyfriend meme?
And you've been looking, and I know you've been looking forward to it, like a lot of people have. So, if you had to guess right now, what do you think? Like, do you think Cyberpunk has a real chance to pass Last of Us 2, or is it going to be extremely, it would have to be just above the moon?
I don't know, man. That's gonna be tough. Cyberpunk looks good anyway, and it's coming from the Witcher devs. So you got the entire Witcher fan base. You got cross-platform coming in, backing up that game. But then PlayStation people, they love their exclusives. They love, you know what I mean? So if it came down to the votes, I think it'd be pretty close. I haven't seen Cyberpunk. I don't know what that's going to feel like or whatever, but it's going to be tough. Those games are going to be, top spots for votes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, does The Last of Us have Keanu Reeves?
Not that I've seen. Maybe
then Cyberpunk wins.
That's our litmus test.
That's a kind of hard argument to beat.
Yeah, that's a couple months out. One thing I will say about, I've said most of what I want to say about Last of Us, but one thing I will say about it is that as much as I love this game, I don't think I ever want to play it again. I don't think I want to. It's a one-time thing. You know what I mean? If you watch an entire season of all these, episodes and all this awful stuff happens and then you're done, it's exhausting. I don't want to play it again.
Wow.
Even having to go back and do the chapters.
I feel like you have PTSD.
Even having to go back
you need
and
some
do
Paper
chapters,
Mario, man.
Yeah, I've been doing chapters, look through, just finding the last few collectibles, whatever, looking through chapters again. And the idea of playing through that whole story again and having to do it, I'm I can't invest that right now. Maybe in a few months we'll come back.
I feel like you can say that though about almost every single Naughty Dog game, of their recent output. Their games are so even the Uncharted series I adore, but they're so intense. They're so it's always in your face. There's so much happening, and that when you're done, it's you take a giant breath and you're I'm good. I love it. It was an amazing thing. I've still yet to go back and play an Uncharted. Afterwards. Exactly. It was awesome, and they're some of my top games. But Last of Us the same way. I played it and I'm done. I don't
Yep.
return to that world.
Because I mean, the stuff they do in this game, you know, like we've seen the trailers, you've seen how violent it is. People hitting each other with hammers and breaking arms, whatever. That stuff, I don't know. I've seen that in other games. I'm not squeamish at all when it comes to the games, but that stuff in The Last of Us, it sticks to you. I don't know. They did a lot of stuff in this game that really makes you feel like you actually have weight behind your decisions and not just, you know, target practice. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough game, but it's really good. Yeah.
All right, man. I don't know where to land. This is going to be like the greatest, most exhausting game of all time, apparently. So I'm looking forward to that.
I've ruined the tone for your whole podcast. Y'all are just sad after this.
No, I mean, I'm obviously I'm interested now. Now I like want to go. I'm going to go upstairs tonight and try to like set like The Last of Us on easy and just run through this so I know the story so I can jump into this thing. I need a good story, and since we're like living in dystopia, might as well play something like that. All right, thank you, Tanner. We are going to take a break and let Tanner get out of here. And when we come back, we are going to talk about Man of Steel 2's latest update, plus what's going on with Comic-Con, what's about to happen in WWE, and some other good stuff. So stay tuned for all of that. So after talking about The Last of Us and taking a minute to recover from that discussion, we're going to talk about something that's actually a little bit happier, more positive. We know a lot of fans out there are kind of, you know, the mecca for our fandom is going to Comic-Con every summer, San Diego Comic-Con, and, you know, for me, New York and a lot of other New York Comic-Con. But because of the coronavirus pandemic, Comic-Con, like so many other big gatherings of people, had to be canceled. But the makers of Comic-Con are coming around, and they are actually still launching an event called Comic-Con from Home, which is pretty much, or Comic-Con at Home. I'm not the official person for this. Comic-Con at Home with the @ symbol, so you know it's clever. But they're basically taking the convention virtual and launching it online and making it free to everybody. So there are still going to be panels. There's still going to be, I'm sure they're going to find out a way to kind of work in premieres of things. Like probably we'll get maybe hopefully some, this is all speculation, but maybe some trailer premieres, things like that. It's going to have panels, giveaway, news, you know, announcements, etc. There'll be everything. There'll be comics, gaming, TV, film, and masquerade things, gaming competitions. So they're gonna take it interactive and they're gonna take it virtual, and it's gonna be free to everybody in the fandom. So everybody will be able to kind of, for the first time, actually, you know, see some of these big Comic-Con moments and events together. And I just thought this was interesting, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. As somebody who's gone to Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con and, you know, covered both for you know, man, like a decade now, I'm kind of interested in this because, you know, some people argue, you know, Brandon Davis, that the whole appeal of Comic-Con is exclusivity and kind of being there and getting to see the stuff first. But I've actually had more fun at cons and things where New York Comic-Con tried out a lot of this with kind of, you know, broadcasting or, you know, webcasting their big panels in the main stage to people they might cut out for the trailer runs and things like that. But making the experience virtual so people could still kind of tune into it. And a lot of this hit, like when I first had a kid and I had to be at home and I couldn't go to these anymore, I really appreciated those and I enjoyed it. And it's a lot of fun to do even virtually. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens, like when everybody does get to kind of sit in and experience this at the same time and really be on the same page about this, even if you might lose some of the exclusivity of the things. And I'm kind of curious to see if studios will respond and actually make this an event by like giving us something cool, you know, trailer reveals or what have you, and or panel, you know, trailer reveals and then like live, go fast and furious with it, do like a trailer reveal and then just the cast and a host in a room, like in a big room, just, you know, and do kind of a webcast, you know, a conversation interview, that type of stuff. So yeah, how do you guys feel about it? I'm a little curious. What are you guys thinking?
I am kind of like, I mean, and you brought up a really good comparison, which is San Diego and New York. And after a couple years of getting the chance to do both, you know, I always left with the impression that like San Diego was, I always felt like in a weird way more fulfilled from a work perspective, because like there's so much that goes on at San Diego from just in what we do. And there's just more there. There's more interviews to be had. There's more content to cover. There's more exclusive things. But as the one I actually had more fun at was New York, because New York had a different vibe, and they did more interactive stuff like online and things. So it wasn't all just like you have to be at the show to take in this content. Like New York's a little bit better about, hey, let's do a stream here, or let's put the panel up on a webcast, or let's do this or whatever. And, as someone who has watched like conventions now a couple years and just like being there when you're not working, like there are some times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I wasn't doing this, like covering this, because there's just something rewarding about doing that. And I like my job, but like just coming as a straight up fan, if I was just sitting in a line for however many hours that people have to sit in a line to get in another line, you know what I mean? Like that whole process of like just being herded like cattle all the time. And even when, your press, you still have that to some degree, like just being like ordered to go over here or go over to go, like all that is not the best. Like that's not fun. Like that part's not fun really at all. And just to get into like a 30-minute thing or an hour thing. So I'm interested to see how this goes like next year. Like once they come through with this, and if they get some exclusive and actually some backing, and people see what you can do without it all being like under a physical roof, I'll be interested to see what like 2021's Comic-Con looks like and what they learn from this and what they take from it. Because I think big picture, I think it can benefit. I think it would make it better if you could integrate some of this stuff and make the overall convention experience a little bit better, just for the people that are paying just to go meet somebody or do a panel. I think there can be these can be better. And I feel like this is a great opportunity to test out some things, throw out some test balloons, and see what you can do. So that way, when it comes back full throttle next year, you can make this experience better, because I think it could be.
All right. That was a lot more passionate than I expected. There you go. Connor, I mean, have you gone to Comic-Cons?
I have not. I was going to try and go for this year's before the world ended, but
that's perfect actually. That's why I want to get your take on it. Like,
yeah,
somebody who's never kind of like gone in and done all this. How do you feel about this?
My thing is, I don't want to see Comic-Con become E3, because E3 is dying. And that became, and part of what made it die, what helped it die, was that, hey, there's no reason to actually go to it because everything is being broadcast at home. So you can just, if you're like us and you're reporting on it, you sit at home and you cover it. If you had to cover San Diego Comic-Con, you had to be there for it. You had to be in Hall H and have Brandon Davis be the fastest Twitter thumbs in the West. I hope that San Diego doesn't lose that, because I don't want to see them go the route of E3. So I think they're looking at this like, okay, we have to do it for this year because given what's happening. I think it reverts back to the norm a year from now. Even though, Matt, like you said, and every horror story I've heard about the ridiculous lines and the queues and, just the massive overcrowding inside that convention center, people still flock to it every year.
True.
And
now, to be fair, they are different conventions, because E3 was never supposed to be a consumer show. It was a press show that ended up kind of over the years, more and more kept turning into a consumer show. And like now the last like 2 years, they've actually invited just anybody to, it was a press show. It was for people to work at. And
right.
Then the presentations became, well, now we have these big companies that want to broadcast their stuff. And so then they started doing that, and that became a key attraction. And then like it's transformed over the years. So in E3's case, E3 doesn't know what it is anymore. Mm-mm. Like it's just, they're grabbing at everything, because now people have their own presentations across the street. They don't even have it at the E3 floor. With Comic-Con, I feel like it's a little bit more, there is a way to, because as everyone knows, when you're like covering Comic-Cons, there's a lot of stuff that like happens not in Hall H, or that right. doesn't happen in a panel. Like the panel stuff is online an hour later, sometimes 20 minutes later. So yes, you get the 10, 15 minute head start, But like some of the interesting stuff is like the conversations, because everyone's there, you can have so many different interactions and conversations with people that you couldn't normally have. That's the interesting content, at least to me. You know, a trailer is going to be novel for 5 minutes, but the stuff, the conversations with the director or with the cast or whatever that happen all throughout the show is the stuff to me that's more interesting, you know, that holds your attention longer. And that's the stuff I feel like won't change, because that can't really change. Like, yeah, you can have a Zoom call, but of course it's going to be a little different and things like that. Whereas if they stream a trailer, you know, okay, like some of the stuff, like getting to see a footage or of a teaser or whatever that they won't release to the public, like that stuff will still happen because that stuff wasn't going online anyway. But for the regular kind of ebb and flow of panels, I feel like you could make it more consumer friendly. That there's got to be a way. I'm not a savant, so I don't know like how that is. I can't fix it. But like I feel like there is a way to just make that experience better for the person that is just going for the sheer joy of going. You know what I mean? I don't know. I hope they take something away. I don't just want it to go back to the way it was. I feel like there are things to be learned. I don't know.
All right. That is Matt's Soapbox. We are going to take a break. Now, we're just kidding. We'll be here to help cover everything that's Comic-Con at home. And even if you don't have a chance to watch it, we'll have lots of content and I'm sure lots to talk about from it. So stay tuned for all of that. But when we come back, we're going to deep dive into talking about what's going on with Man of Steel, plus what's going on with WWE, and if we got some time, even what's happening in the latest Batman stories. So stay tuned for all of that. All right, so Man of Steel 2. So it was yeah. It was announced that Henry Cavill's coming back as Superman, but he's going to be kind of popping up in various places in the DC movie universe and kind of making these cameo and or possibly featured appearances in other films, which led to the big question of like, you know, what does that mean for Man of Steel 2, this long-awaited sequel to Zack Snyder's Superman reboot that we, you know, people, it was a very divisive film, obviously, but it has a very passionate fan base, clearly. And what was Warner Brothers basically going to do? Are we going to get another Man of Steel, a new Superman movie? Like, what's going to happen here? So the latest report is a rumor that was kind of floated on one of these scoop-breaking sites on the internet, and it basically kind of breaks down what's happening at Warner Brothers and what the thinking is among the executives and how that could spell kind of not really good things for Man of Steel 2. And basically what it says is that at Warner Brothers, they want somebody who's really like a big filmmaker to come and do the next Superman movie, which is understandable. The issue is big filmmakers come with their own visions. Like, this is a thing Marvel Studios is a great example, had to learn after Phase 1. In Phase 1, they were hitting up people like Kenneth Branagh, you know, Joe Johnston, and even to extent Jon Favreau after he kind of got done in making Iron Man, and then the studio really took over and kind of started moving things. And what they learned is that there's a problem with getting big directors that have their own experience and signature visions and styles of doing things, because you want, you know, Kevin Feige wants to make this Marvel movie, sees in his head, but directors all have egos and experience, and they're like, yeah, who are you? Like, I'm going to do my thing. And so it's not a comfortable situation. And you got out of that. People don't remember in Phase 1 a lot, but there was a lot of like bad talking Marvel as like this controlling machine. The filmmakers weren't happy. It was like a very kind of tumultuous situation. And what they learned in Phase 2 is to build people's careers, basically. Take people who were like really talented and on the verge, but were used to kind of not having the authority and working within the studio system, taking those notes and you know, having, you know, taking all that and building people like the Russos, James Gunn, you know, oh my God, he's my man. Black Panther director. I can't believe I'm
Ryan
blanking.
Coogler?
Yeah, Ryan Coogler is my man, and I'm sorry, Ryan, if you ever listen to this. Yeah, and building them up. And so the same thing is kind of now the question at DC. It's like any big name director, it's understandable why like a J.J. Abrams or somebody would be like looking at Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Henry Cavill and that whole thing and being like, I don't necessarily want to step into that mess. Like, if I'm going to make a Superman film, I have a vision, and therefore I have a vision of who I want to be my Superman, and it's not necessarily Henry Cavill, which is nothing against Cavill. that anybody's saying, but this is just the reality of what a big name director is like. So what do you guys think? There's a lot of ins and outs to this, and we'll get into that in a minute, but what do you guys think about all this? Do you think a J.J. Abrams is worth trading a Henry Cavill, or would you like to see the next Superman movie be something where Henry Cavill, because arguably there is room for Henry Cavill to finally get the Superman depiction that Zack Snyder was building up to, which is how he becomes, the symbol of hope and the good natured superhero icon that we know. And do you think Henry Cavill needs a chance to kind of play that out?
Connor?
I have complicated feelings towards the Man of Steel trilogy and Zack Snyder as a whole. I love Henry Cavill, and I thought that his run on The Witcher was really endearing because that showed just the range of personality he can really bring out in a character. My problem with his Superman was always that he didn't feel like Superman. He felt like this dark and dour and moping person. I feel like a lot of that came from the fact that Snyder profoundly misunderstood what Superman is and what he represents. And when you look at, his fandom of people like Ayn Rand, you go, okay, yeah, you love this person. Someone like Superman, that concept just doesn't make sense. The idea of someone being altruistic, that sounds ludicrous, running up against that philosophy. So it's no wonder that when he finally felt like Superman on screen, it was at the end of a movie that Zack Snyder had left and somebody else had hopped in on. I absolutely think that if someone else was at the directing helm, you could get that, this generation-defining Superman film, and with Cavill in the main role, absolutely. Now, Kofi, you bring up how if a new director comes in, will they be a little bit hesitant? Will they think, hey, I don't want to step into all this mess of Snyder cuts and Do You Bleed and Martha and all that nonsense. At the same time, though, I think the fans all kind of have his back. And if you instantly want fan support for whatever new Superman movie you're going to have come out, have it be the guy that everyone's looking at right now going, yeah, the studio screwed this guy over. He deserves another shot. You get a lot of goodwill by keeping him around.
Keeping Cavill around or keeping, bringing Snyder back to do?
No, keeping just Cavill.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, yeah, here's some of the caveats to this. It's not impossible, and I wrote this article up, and I kind of point out it's not impossible to do, to kind of thread that middle ground where you pull like the Suicide Squad, right? It's kind of like a soft reboot in terms it's a new Superman story, a new kind of tone, all of that. But you kind of soft acknowledge that the Man of Steel stuff, it happened, it was there, but this is a new day and a new kind of vision, and you keep Cavill. And there are ways to thread that needle because there are just a set of directors who are both friendly with Henry Cavill and friendly with Warner Brothers. Zack Snyder's one of them, but we're taking him off the table for Connor. But another one's like Christopher McQuarrie, for instance, right?
Yeah.
McQuarrie worked with Cavill on Mission Impossible Fallout. They even tossed around ideas and talked about stuff in Superman ideas and things like that. And McQuarrie is very much a guy who, if you've ever talked or listened to him talk, he was in director jail and writer jail for a very long time. He did Usual Suspects. Then he made Way of the Gun in 2000. And after that movie, because he did it his own way and was a major problem, he was in director jail. And he was in there for a long time. You're talking 10 years. And so when he got out, it was because Tom Cruise helped pull him out for doing Valkyrie. And then they continued to work together doing Edge of Tomorrow. And then he came on Mission Impossible and the rest is history. But he's a dude who will tell you straight up, I've learned, work with the studio, work with the system, don't have too big of an ego. And so he's totally that guy. And so it is possible to do because he would definitely be a very different vision from Zack Snyder. But he also knows Cavill. So it's not impossible to do.
And let's not forget, we've already kind of done the soft reboot stuff with Aquaman. Because the Jason Momoa we saw in that movie wasn't exactly what we saw at the beginning of Justice League.
No, and and there's a whole big, there's going to be a whole big thing. The other caveat you bring up, which is kind of good to mention, is it's what the plan is regarding the Snyder Cut, right? So Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to get completed. It's going to be released next year. And, it kind of begs the question of where we go from here is because there's a possibility that, if the Snyder Cut is huge and it does well, they could push to finish some of those sequels or do something. But that's a far-fetched thing. A lot of the actors, like Ben Affleck, it doesn't seem like you'd be able to wrangle him back in. But if you do Justice League and then you just do a couple other films and you kind of change the ending a little bit, so it's kind of more of a final ending, and you just have kind of Cavill pop up in other movies, you can arguably end Justice League, give fans that kind of closure, and then use those other movies to kind of play out, some kind of way that Cavill's Superman kind of ends his arc and kind of just, give fans that closure. Whether it's, I don't know what it is, how you do that, but you kind of either, put him a pause or send Superman to space. I don't know. But you can have that close out and be done too. And then that's the closure on the Snyder stuff. Like you give fans that ending, and then you do a new Superman reboot movie, because you also have this thing with the Batman is also another factor in this. They're already rebooting Batman. Like Ben Affleck's done. We're getting a new vision of Batman. It becomes a lot more complicated if you keep trying to do the Cavill thing and kind of do that, as opposed to, like I said, use the Snyder Cut and these additional appearances to give Cavill kind of a real ending in the franchise that you feel satisfied. They introduce the new whoever's, and Superman is kind of takes a step to the background, and then you get into a new kind of isolated Superman reboot.
You get J.J. Abrams Superman.
Yeah, exactly. So, and whatever that is, for better or worse. Yeah, so I mean, there's ways to do this. There's multiple ways to do this. I kind of personally would just, at this point, as much as, I mean, and I am like one of the big Man of Steel apologists, or not apologists, I don't have to apologize for it, but defenders of Man of Steel and the kind of vision that Snyder tried to take in asking hard questions about Superman in a modern context. And yeah, I liked all that. But, 2013, when that came out, is such a long way from now. I mean, all that post 9/11 kind of dealings with what that movie was trying to process and deal. And if you never read the breakdown, that's a lot of what is going on in Man of Steel. It's kind of like processing a post 9/11 world for like ideas about being an immigrant and all that stuff and all that stuff. And, xenophobia, all that stuff. So basically that's a different, 2020 alone has just put us like 7 timelines away from that. And that time and place just seems to have moved on. So, it just seems like I won't get what I want out of it. And so I would just like to see Cavill featured in some just kind of thing still connected to the Snyderverse era, which, like I said, just establishes Superman as a kind of a hopeful kind of guy in that universe. But, other movies don't have to actually bring him in. He's off doing whatever he's doing. And we get a kind of, did I freeze?
It hurts my brain to think about. Every time I go to think about all this, it hurts my brain. It just hurts my brain because there's so many things I want a Cavill Superman movie so badly, because I love him as Superman. He's a fantastic Superman, and I just feel like I really liked Man of Steel a lot. But I just feel like he got robbed. He didn't get his proper time because he should have gotten a better showcase. And so it's a bummer, but every time I go to think about, well, how could they fit that in and like have him exist over here, but like Ben Affleck's Batman is different, and it hurts my brain. It just hurts it.
Well, they have an out, and it's take the Flashpoint stuff from the TV series and then go hand wavy them over all the movies and say, oh, it counts into that. Blame Flashpoint.
I hope it's better than what Flashpoint did on TV.
Yeah.
I hope it's better. And they do. They have that little ace in they have that standing there. That is the number one get out. And it's been that way in the comics too. If you ever need to get out of something continuity wise, you have Flash undo time or something, and it fixes it. Cosmic treadmill, which I hate. Mm-hmm. I hate cosmic treadmill. Anyway, point is, I would love, but I think the probably easiest and most we don't piss off too many people solution is what Kofi was kind of saying, which is have him give those fan service moments, find some small ways to feature him, make him really feel like Superman, the Superman that we got at the end of Justice League, which was that's the Superman I want, and give us that. And then we wave goodbye. whoever comes in gets their chance, gets their Matt Reeves chance to kind of do Superman and Metropolis in their vision. And we move from there as we have 2 new World's Finest. And then we kind of figure out what the heck to do with Aquaman and Shazam and Wonder Woman, because they're kind of out here just willy-nilly tied to the old continuity, but not really. It's weird.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, but Suicide Squad's already doing this for us. This
True,
reboot.
it is.
So DC's already mastered this kind of pivot.
I want to see it in action, though, because we know I trust James Gunn, but I want to see how, like, literally how it works, how it's executed, and see if it can be replicated by everybody else. Because James Gunn is a really good director. Right now, everyone's James Gunn. So it's like, I hope it's a thing that they can replicate and to across the board, because it seems like more and more they're going to need to do that with a lot of movies. So we'll see.
All right. So I sent you a secret message, but you didn't read it because I was freezing. So now just take it away into wrestling, Matt.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see it. I try to pay attention to the camera.
All right, shall we talk some wrestling, Matthew?
Please
Wait, I
do.
didn't get anything.
It's in a Zoom
it's
note.
in the Zoom
Oh,
chat.
that's why. I don't have my Zoom.
Real professional show we got
I
going
don't have
on
my
here.
Zoom chat open.
Crack
My bad.
team.
I
Crack
have my
team.
Slack open.
All right. No, but it's all good. Yeah, so that'll do it for Man of Steel 2. Let us know what you guys think out of there. We're going to slide now in a more awkward way into wrestling because WWE is coming back with another pay-per-view this week. So we had to bring Connor and Matt back. Give us a preview. What is it called? Is this one called Blackout?
Backlash.
Backlash.
I kind of like Blackout better.
Blackout does sound good.
This would be. I don't know if this would be the week for that, but
That's true.
No,
But it's a
it
really
wouldn't.
good name. It's a really good name, though. For
Yeah.
me.
All right, but you guys take it away. What's going on with WWE Backlash, and what should we be looking forward to?
Matt, I don't know if you saw my show notes, but it's just one line. And it says, Edge and Randy Orton will have the most bestest match ever because reasons.
I did see that.
And that is the bulk of what the build for this show has been. There is very little about this show to get excited about. You have a WWE Championship match where you just don't care. Good try, good effort, but I don't care about Bobby Lashley. I'm sorry.
Why
Thank
do
you
I
for
feel
bringing-
like every time we go to plug a pay-per-view, we start out
Because
with
they're
like, this
mostly
is the
crap.
worst show ever. This is terrible.
Well, this one deserves
Yeah, I'm always interested if you guys are actually selling wrestling or like.
Oh, no, we don't sell wrestling. We sell our coverage where we rip it apart. But
Unless we're talking NXT and then I gush.
there you go. Or if it's AEW and then I gush. No, I mean, this show, there's really not a lot to it. The Braun Strowman title match is a handicap match where they're not even trying to build to the match. They're just trying to have the two guys prank him on SmackDown leading up to it. That's not a build. It's an episode of Nickelodeon.
Hey, don't
Wow.
shove Nickelodeon like that.
Because they use slime. That's why I brought it up.
Nickelodeon produced Drake and Josh, and I would take Drake and Josh, any episode of Drake and Josh
yeah.
over this feud. I would
take
that.
iCarly over this feud. But
I respect
so the main thing that they're trying to build, and if you're not a wrestling fan, but you know some, and they're all just kind of rolling their eyes lately, is because they are trying to build this show around a match between Edge and Randy Orton. Now, to be fair, these are two legends. One's a Hall of Famer, one's a first ballot, whatever he wants to be. 24 world championships between the two of them, I think. Yeah, 24. Two, I wouldn't say era-defining, but they will go down in history as two all-time greats. We've seen them wrestle plenty of times, and at no point during any of those matches, including one at WrestleMania, did we ever say, wow, that might have been one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. But when they announced this match, the announcer turns to the camera and goes, if this match happens, it will be the greatest wrestling match of all time. Completely straight-faced, and everyone at home just laughed because there was nothing to back that up. As soon as I heard, I went on the basis of what? On the OK match they had a couple of months ago? On the OK matches they had in 2006? Like, where are you getting this information from? But they refuse to relent. They just keep saying it over and over. They bring in Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and they have them stare. I am reading a script right now that says that I think this will be the best match ever, and here's why. It's painful. And even when these two guys get interviewed, the reaction for both of them was, I thought it was a joke when I first heard it. I thought they were ribbing me. Yeah. I thought it was a prank. Nope, they're so dead set on this. They got the rights to the Greatest Show song from The Greatest Showman to be the theme song for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's not going to be. It's not going to be the greatest wrestling match of all time.
Not anywhere close.
Big surprise.
Now, here's the thing. What I will – okay, so let me throw this at you. And this is just devil's advocate because I don't actually believe this. Well, what if the whole point was to build it up so high? Because in a way, they have gained attention. People are going to tune in to watch this now just because it has been called the greatest match, and they almost want to see it fail. That wasn't the case before. And if you had just left it as Edge and Randy Orton go against each other again, no one would have cared.
If you needed a hook, have it be if Edge loses, he has to retire again. There.
No, I'm not saying there are better options. There's probably a dozen. But in this case, I will say, do you think that was the motivation? Because when the guy said it, when the commentator said it, I don't even know if that was the plan. When it was said and it caught on fire.
It was Charlie Caruso that said it.
Okay, so when it was said, was that I haven't actually looked at if that was actually the plan.
No, that was the plan.
That was the plan.
Paul Heyman went to Edge and said, "Here's how we're going to sell this." And Edge said, "You're kidding, right?" And you're like, "Nope, dead serious." And I feel so bad for him because this is his first real one-on-one, no gimmicks. They can't hide behind weapons or anything. First one-on-one standard singles match in nearly a decade. And you have set the bar, not to say it could be an all-time classic. Not to say, it could be one of the greatest matches ever. Nope, it's got to be the best.
Yeah.
Go to hell, Steamboat Flair. Go to hell, Michaels Undertaker 1 and 2.
Which doesn't go real well with the fact that you've done this Undertaker special and you've been blasting how great the Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H matches were. And now you have a direct thing to hold it against. I will say you could have billed it as something you'll never see again. And that I think would have actually been just as compelling as the greatest match ever.
It's the last time ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. But to say the greatest, yes. I will say it has had probably the adverse effect of what they want to. However, I, as someone who did not care two licks about this match, especially after Randy Orton's constant comments on NXT lately, I am morbidly curious. I just want to see what it is. I'm more curious than anything. So if they did hook me, I'll say that in some very small, low bar way. Now, I will counter this negativity with the fact that I am actually looking forward to Andrade and Apollo Crews.
Okay.
Because I'm a big Andrade supporter, and I think he's been held back by just formulaic storytelling and whatever. Apollo Crews is very talented. I hope the heel turn stuff is actually going to happen. And if so, this could kind of be one of the first real places we see that transformation start. I'm curious on that because these are two very talented stars that just have been booked terribly and WWE forgets about them every other month. And so just kind of pushes them to the side. And I hope they do something, especially now that Andrade has the belt. I will also say I'm excited.
No, Apollo has the belt.
Oh, sorry, Apollo has the belt. So I'm very excited for those. What I will say, too, is that the tag team match I am actually excited for, not because of the match itself, because we've seen this matchup over and over and over again. I am actually excited because next week on NXT, Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart get a shot at whoever wins this. And I will say, as one of the few defenders in our Slack of heel Bailey, I actually want to see Dose Straps or whatever the heck she calls herself lately.
Bailey Dose Straps. I am not a copy of Becky Lynch.
That was
funny.
It was great. I want to see her on, I want to see those two go against, because those are very big baby faces. So you need two all-out heels to really make that worthwhile. I'm interested to see Hill Bailey on NXT. So I'm hoping that's the case. So that is my thing. So a little counter a lightness.
Well, I'm there with you on Apollo because he's actually been killing it on television lately. He had some good matches. So you could get something fun out of that. And also, I have a feeling the AJ Daniel match, we're taping this Thursday, so tomorrow on SmackDown, I don't think that thing's going to end as cleanly as people hope, and that'll probably end up getting followed up on Sunday. And those are two of my favorites, and if that happens, that'll be a lot of fun.
Booyah.
Other than that, so to answer your question, Kofi, because I know you were asking, no, this will not be the greatest match ever. Yes, we will still be watching. Yes, we will still be covering it. And yes, you can still check it all out on Comic Book's WWE page.
Booyah.
All right, that'll do it for the show. We're going to have to push our Batman comic talk till later because we got to get a hard out here because the PS5 event is starting in a moment, and we got to be on top of that. So we're going to be talking about that when we come back next week. So be sure to look for that in our next show. But if you're just getting into this now during our quarantine arc, we want to thank you for joining Comic Book Nation. We put up new episodes every Wednesday and every Friday. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Playlists, iHeartRadio. You can go on the Comicbook.com YouTube page and find video of us. You can watch it on Facebook when we air live on Facebook every week. Or you can also tell any Amazon Alexa device to fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will get started for you. If you want to talk to us, hit us up at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can hit me up at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
At Connor Casey _CB.
That'll do for this episode. And if you like the show, go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review because we're still locked out of our office. But when we get back, we give 5 stars. We give T-shirts to anybody whose 5-star review we read on the show, and we are going to binge read a whole bunch of them to thank you guys for holding us down during quarantine. So hit up iTunes, leave those 5-star reviews, and hopefully pretty soon or eventually we are going to get you a T-shirt. That's it. Thank you once again for tuning in. Stay connected. Stay healthy, guys. Try to stay sane and find some kind of personal peace, maybe just by hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. This is Comic Book Nation. Peace.
Deuces.
Later.